Good morning, my friends. Welcome to this episode of Healing Your Codependency. I'm Marshall Berkshire. If you're new to me, I help turn codependents into radical, confident, and satisfied individuals in their lives. Because that's the point. That's what we're here to do is create things that matter to us and allow us to serve and contribute to each other. So today, we're going to talk about the 3 perils of do-it-yourself healing, coming from someone who's done a lot of that myself, and want to connect with also sometimes the necessity that that's all we've got. We don't have the money, the resources to bring in something more structured. So how to use DIY healing to the best of advantage for you. Before you do that, just as a heads up, we have the People Pleaser Transformed 6-week training starting January 26th. It's $197. You can enroll at healyourcodependency.com or description. Check the description below for the link as well. If you're watching YouTube or Facebook, and if you're watching Instagram, check the bio link. And if you're watching on podcast, healyourcodependency.com. So come and transform that codependency into confidence and peace. Build the capacity to handle the discomfort you feel when other people are upset or disappointed. And then learn how to soothe it so you can be free to do the things you want, have the things you want in the world. So let's jump into the DIY. So what do I mean by DIY? I mean do-it-yourself healing. And do-it-yourself healing is the habit of, we've all done it. Buy the self-help book, read the book, get an aha. Maybe try something once or twice. It's not very consistent. Or it's watching the YouTubes or the TikToks or the reading the posts, reading the emails. We're doing this all the time. I'm doing it. You're doing it. It's a normal thing. There's nothing necessarily wrong with DIY, but it does present some challenges for us to build consistency in our world so we get long-term change and results that we're seeking by consuming that information and trying out whatever tool or process might be recommended. So first and foremost and always up front, never ever condemn yourself for DIY. I do it all the time too. DIY's got its place. It's a place of necessity. It's a place of curiosity. It's a very useful approach. But when we're looking for that long-term success, we need to be mindful of some of the challenges and pitfalls, the inadequacies of DIY that get in our way. So number one, using DIY effectively means consistency. I've mentioned that word a couple times. Consistency means I'm sticking with the principle, I'm sticking with the concept, and also stick with the person you're learning from, especially if you like them, you trust them, they resonate with you. Stick with their material, their YouTube channel, their podcasts, their books, and then find others and kind of mix it together. But follow what resonates for you, what challenges you and gives you insights, and use that in coupling with an intention that, hey, the things I'm learning help me heal, help me grow, help me succeed. I found that very useful in my world, especially when I haven't had the resources to bring on something more structured into my life. And then, things continue to improve, and then I was able to get more resources, bring that in, and do more of the structured work through either one-on-one private work or coursework, live group stuff, things like that. So keep that in mind. It's very effective, but be mindful of these 3 perils, these three challenges that come with DIY. So I can check my notes over here. So I keep my brain straight here. One of the core challenges of do-it-yourself healing is that it cannot point out the blind spots that we each have in our healing, in our growth, in our self-awareness. And it's these blind spots that perpetuate the patterns we have in our relationships, in our finances, in our money, in our work, in our emotions, in our attempts to heal and grow. And so there's a way to start detecting them, and it's watching the patterns that emerge in your reality. And then knowing what to do with that can be the next challenge. But yeah, DIY, it's very hard for us to capture the blind spots we have in our own thinking, our own perception of ourselves and others, because there isn't a sufficient reflection and information and awareness to highlight it to us, so it stays either semi-conscious or unconscious to us. One way in DIY to help kind of shake that up is to look at the patterns that keep repeating, both within your thinking and in your emotions, in your energy, and out here in your results. Because that's going to help you start tuning into what I call the survival identity and the loops that it creates in our world in order to perpetuate, one, survival. So we're constantly repeating the things that keep us in survival, like those toxic relationships, the financial struggles, the avoidance or sabotage behaviors we have, the anxious attachment that drives things away, all of that. So there's a way to start illuminating it, but then there's the other catch with the blind spot. We may think we understand what it is, and that can be confused with knowing how to do it. So knowing what to do and how to do it are very different things, and that be very mindful of that. So if you can find examples of how to do it, people demonstrating it, doing a process or a technique, and follow that, that's going to help you also stay out of that blind spot a little more. So that's our first perils, our blind spots, and then we can capture some insight into us by observing patterns and then looking at and following examples of how to apply processes and tools that are effective for us. The second one is that, unfortunately, and I have a whole lot of empathy and care because this has been my world too, is I have found that do-it-yourself tends to cost more in our time, our energy, our effort, and our money than we realize. And this is one of those unfortunate aspects of it because without the money, we can't accelerate the process, right? And so we are investing time, effort, and energy to move along that way. Now, the reason I point this peril out is because it's also played a significant role in sabotaging my progress, my success, my healing. Because when I have had the money, I've had the resources, I've had the stability to take the leap, this kept getting in the way. And it showed up as, but I don't have that. Or if I take this risk, I mean, I've got it, I can handle it, but I don't really trust myself to handle it. So it was a self-trust wound that was sabotaging my ability to take the necessary investments to grow and to heal. So I stuck with D.I.Y. so I could avoid that anxiety of that my self-distrust was creating. So keep in mind that, hey, I've got the money, I can handle this, but I've got this anxiety saying, no, but what if? There's a wound speaking there, a distrust in yourself, a distrust in life, and there's something to explore there around that. And now I'm going to put out some trainings on that, some videos on that, episodes on that, so we can get into trusting ourselves more, so we know when it makes sense to take a risk, to invest, and to invest in ourselves, risk on ourselves for our own expansion and our own healing. And my friends, again, it's okay if the money's not there. It's not something that has to be shamed. It doesn't deserve it at all, because I've been there. I mean, there was a period of time, like 2010 through 2014, 2015, I was living off a few $100 a month, and the generosity of family and friends, working my healing to grow. There have been times in the last 2 years where it's been really rough with that. It's okay. It's okay. And so that's why I provide my trainings here on YouTube and on the podcast, Instagram, Facebook. Everything I teach in my courses is in the videos here on these episodes. And the core processes and tools are there as well for free. You can check out the tools list on YouTube or my website on the resources. So for regulation, titration through pendulation, all the emotional regulation stuff, the warm witness practices, all of that. Because I know how hard it is to heal and grow under that kind of pressure when we don't have the resources we need to find some stability and to expand. So, got that there. Praise and appreciate your creativity, your ingenuity, and doing it yourself and getting into it. And then be mindful of any kind of that. I've got resources, but if I make this leap, I don't trust myself. Something bad might happen. I might. That is where you're sabotaging yourself. Okay. And the third one is the do-it-yourself mentality can be a reinforcement of the idea of being needless. I don't need others. I can do it on my own. And we can't. We can do it on our own to a certain extent, but there are crucial and important points of connection that we need. We need community. We need reflection. We need validation and reassurance. We need to know that we're comprehending what we're discovering and understanding accurately, that we're not alone in this. It's how I see it. And ultimately, we need a sense of belonging to really heal. Codependency is a big attempt to try to manufacture belonging. And depending on your attachment orientation, if it's anxious or if it's avoidant or disorganized, you have big conflict in that area. So make sure you're not using DIY to avoid presence and connection in your world. Instead, ask yourself, okay, what would it be like to ask for help in this specific thing I'm working on? Rather than go find another YouTube video, why don't I ask somebody that I know has some information or expertise in this, ask them for help in it, and see what that starts to bring in your world. I know many of us have had profound experiences in asking for help, where we've been rejected, where we've been called a burden, where we've been treated as a burden. Consider giving yourself permission to acknowledge that that was real, that was valid, and open up to the possibility that by just asking for help in just one thing, specific, like maybe I need help in moving past something I feel shame about, and so I'll send a friend or someone that I know works on shame a question. Hey, can I ask you a question about moving beyond shame and something like this? I bet you'll get a warm response. And if you don't, ask someone else. There are more people out there that are helping than are hindering. I know it's a challenge. I want to be it's to be really warm to that, because I've experienced it too, where I've asked for help and it's like, nope, you got to learn your lesson or blah, blah, blah. But allow yourself to, hey, I have a need. I'm going to ask for a little help in that. See what emerges there. That can bring us a lot of validation, a lot of support, a lot of a sense of maybe belonging and being important to someone else for a moment. So those are the three perils, my friends. It traps us in doing it by ourselves. It can convince us that we should invest more time, energy, and effort into this rather than money, because we don't trust ourselves to actually follow through on the investment we're making with the money, and then ultimately the blind spots that show up for us in DIY. And again, DIY is not shameful. Just keep in mind these challenges. So with these DIY perils, now you know how you can avoid them, which will make DIY, do-it-yourself healing, much more effectively for you. It'll make it much more easy to use it to your advantage, so you succeed, and so that, hey, you get to where you want to be. Okay. So my friends, thank you for being here. Thank you for your time and energy today. I know there's a lot going on in the world. My heart goes out to those affected by the fires in California and those affected by the winter storms going on and the general change happening in our world right now. So go gently, go kindly with yourselves. Got questions? Post them in the comments below here on YouTube or on Facebook or Instagram. And if you're listening via podcast, go to codependency.com. You can ask me a question there. And come and join us for People Pleasing Transform starting January 26th at 3 p.m. That's a Sunday, 3 p.m. Mountain Time. And let's transform that codependency, that people-pleasing aspect of codependency, rather, into that confidence, that capacity, and that self-trust you deserve to have in your world. Okay? Appreciate you. Go gently. I'll see you on our next episode. Bye-bye. Hey, thank you for listening to today's episode. Now, are you looking for additional guidance on how to exit your codependency and create a life that's satisfying for you? If so, come join me in my email community. You can do that by going to join.freetheself.com or checking the description below and clicking the link there to join that community. You will receive more mentorship and guidance from me on how to navigate the 3 phases of thriving beyond codependency, those phases being survival, healing, and creation. as well as opportunities to join my courses, workshops, and other trainings that I offer throughout the year. So come join us there, and I will see you in our email community. Bye-bye.